Secure is where all people should strive to get to be the most fulfilled and the most happy relationships. Not better than any attachment style, once again, because you don't get to choose. Okay? It's literally luck of the draw. They're like, boom, 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 you're going to this family, you're going to this family, you're going to this family, we don't know. You're going to this family, we don't know what we're going to get. So we work with what we're given, okay? We work it. Work it!
On the set.
Camera speed.
Sound production, take one.
Hey, welcome back to Listen Lissa. I am your host, Alyssa. Thank you. Last episode, we talked about what attachment style is, that everyone has an attachment style. I want to go a little bit more into that. I want to describe what the 4 attachment styles are and what each attachment style's childhood likely looked like. Okay? Let's get into it. Attachment style. We all have one. If you don't know which one you are, I like to promote Thais Gibson. She is a coach and a relationship therapist, counselor, and the developer or the creator of Personal Development School. It's online. It is everything you could ever want to know about the subconscious and the programming and the reprogramming and the attachment styles, and she's amazing and she's everything.
You need to slow down. You need to
slow down. Grab the wall.
And she's changing my life. So I wanted to share everything I've learned with you all. I could never share it all. There's so much content. I have looked inward and I have researched and got myself educated on it, through the internet and through experience in life. I've never been to school and trained properly for it. I do tend to research my information through scholarly systems, and I do take into consideration where the information is coming from. I do look at competing information. I do practice things that teach me how to relieve my biases. So I think I have a lot of credible information, but I could never measure up to someone who has been trained in the field. So there's incredible value in signing up for Personal Development School, and I back it 100%, and you should totally do it. Pretty much everybody just sign up for Personal Development School and we'll all be great, okay? Period. Moving on. If you want to figure out your attachment style, you don't know what it is, you're not sure, you can certainly visit. You just go to Google, type in Personal Development School. If you want the actual website, I can tell you what that is. I think it's personaldevelopmentschool.com, but let me check. I'll put it up on screen. So use the link that says on the screen, use this one. Don't type what I'm typing into that address bar up there. It's really cool because you can take the romantic quiz, you can take the family quiz, you could take the friends quiz, and you could get different answers for your attachment style for all 3. So I personally have a different attachment style with friends and family than I have in romantic relationships, which is very interesting. So that is important. The science and the psychology of that is mind-blowing to me. I think that's so interesting. So if you want to check it out, go take that quiz. It's very, very eye-opening, and it will tell you exactly what path to go down to heal the things that you want to focus on and the things that are plaguing your relationships. It's downright basketballs to the wall amazing. Okay? Swear. Do it. Please do it. Here's just a little sampling of what it's like. So question 1, I can be very emotionally present when I am starting to date, but it takes me a while to share vulnerable things about myself. True. I practice excellent self-care tendencies for both myself and my partner. True. I often put my partner on a big pedestal and feel inferior to them. True. I feel irritated or impatient easily around my partner. False. I feel comfortable around my partner and enjoy their company. True. I often struggle to trust a partner in my romantic relationships. True. I need a lot more space from my romantic partners than they usually need from me. False. I will sometimes call or text repetitively when I'm not getting a response from my loved one. I think that's enough. There's 4 different attachment styles. We all have one. I want to start out by saying that there is no one attachment style that is better than another. It can be a touchy subject if you are a certain type of attachment style. You may have a tendency to end up in a dynamic with a very certain other type of conflicting attachment style. It's the way the cookie crumbles. Typically there's one that ends up with the other very frequently, and it often can go bad if the two cannot recognize the dynamic, pinpoint what it is, and understand what each of them need to change to heal. If each of them can do that, it can be a beautiful transformation that two people can go through together. It actually strengthens the bond. It could be a very, very beautiful thing. When it's not beautiful, it's a nightmare. So, but there was no shaming of any particular attachment style. Here's why, okay? Your attachment style is something that is put upon you. We do not get to choose to be born. We didn't ask to be born. None of us. Nobody asked to be born. Did somebody ask to be born? If you did, raise your hand. Okay, so nobody. If you didn't ask to be born, that is not to say that life is not a blessing. I like to think that life is something that we were given. There's something that is meant to come out of it that is not only beneficial to a collective, but also individually beneficial to our soul and to the souls which we touch and bring amazing things to. So for that reason, I like to have an attitude of gratitude to be here. But we need to acknowledge that we didn't ask to be born, okay? Just period. So, if we didn't ask to be born, and you can't choose your childhood, and you can't choose your caregivers, then it is not your fault what attachment style you end up with. It's literally pressed upon you against your will.
And that's on period.
They didn't get to choose what one they got. They're not lucky or better because you ended up secure. You don't have necessarily an easier road. Each individual is different. People handle the things that they're dealt in life differently. Period. We're just not going to shame anybody, okay? Everybody's equal. So today I'm just going to touch on the 4 attachment styles and how it all started. Likely how they experienced childhood and their upbringing.
Now, just like most things, every attachment style has strengths and challenges. So to illustrate this, I have highlighted the typical strength associated with each attachment style as well as the typical challenge that comes along with it. So you will see 2 slides for each attachment style, one being a little more positive spin on it and one being the more negative spin on it.
The 4 attachment styles are 1, the anxious preoccupied. The anxious preoccupied is coined by a fear of abandonment, a fear of rejection, and that's not just rejection of a connection or rejection of a relationship. It feels like to them a rejection of their core self, their identity. It's a rejection of them in a deep, meaningful, individual, personalized way. So it's very hurtful. And it's a fear of inadequacy. So these individuals, they dislike being single. They will sometimes go to great lengths to remain constantly in a relationship, but they don't necessarily feel like they're living. They sometimes don't even feel like their life is meaningful while they're outside of a relationship. They're constantly looking for the next one to get in or fighting for the last one to get back with them. They do a lot of codependency. They do a lot of people pleasing, sticking around for things that they don't deserve and they shouldn't put up with. But there's also an abandonment wound. So whether it was a real abandonment, like one of their parents left the family, or there was just a divorce that caused the child to stay with one parent more than the other and miss the other parent, or if it was just completely a perceived abandonment based on maybe one parent being able to stay home and the other parent having to go to work a lot. So when they would see the other parent, it would be something that they really clung to and they really enjoyed that emotional safety and closeness. But when their other parent would be gone at work so much, they would miss them so deeply and feel very disconnected, very sad, and very longing for that connection. So they learned what they loved about emotional connection, and they grew to be so needy of it that they can nearly not stand when they don't have it, and they feel like they're constantly going to be abandoned, so they're just clinging on to the life of the relationship.
Their plight can be a bit heartbreaking at times because it's very evident to see that these type of people are your big-hearted givers. They seem very loving and they're just willing to do anything and everything for the people that they love. My heart always goes out to the anxious preoccupied because they're the attachment style that tends not to recognize their suffering so much in their childhood. However, it is wildly apparent to them as they go into adulthood and start to realize what it has done to them and the tendencies it has caused them to have in their love life, and just how detrimental and painful these processes can be for an anxious preoccupied. The good news is they are the attachment style that shows the most potential for turning this around and becoming secure because of the fact that they are so apt to look inward already in a negative way that it's not too hard to do that same process in a positive way.
Number 2, The dismissive avoidant, they would be probably what you would call the absolute polar opposite of the anxious preoccupied. So this individual experienced in childhood a lot of neglect. Probably not physical neglect, but could be, but very much received a lot of emotional neglect. So they were taught that their feelings and emotions were very shameful and very weak. And they were praised a lot more often for achievements. And they were always praised most likely for their overachievements. So this is like the child that you don't get a medal for participation. You don't get a medal for doing what you're supposed to do. These homes are often marked by a parent who typically is more apt to call out when you have done something wrong and point out the disobedience or the ways that a child falls short more frequently than they are celebrated for the things that they do right. So, it's the same thing. You don't get a medal for behaving correctly. You're not going to get little praises for, taking your dish to the sink. But let you leave that dish on the table, you are going to be heavily reprimanded for that. And if you feel emotional about it, you're going to be shut down and shamed and told that you're a crybaby or something like that. That could be one example. So it's not an emotionally safe place to grow up. So therefore, they learn that it's best to push their emotions away and act like they do not have them. The safest thing to do is anytime anything is emotional or feels emotional is to just get out of there. Avoid it at all costs and just do not dabble in that area because it's going to lead to shame and criticism and rejection. A huge operating core wound and fear for the dismissive avoidant is failure or feeling like they are bad, feeling like they are rejected for having human emotion. So they pretend not to have any. And sometimes they've done this for so long that they actually don't realize that they do have any. These are your more like emotionally unavailable type people. Now, I just want to really reiterate that also in these situations, no parents are to blame. Okay? Parents do the best job that they can. They also are operating off of a set of rules that they grew up with, that they didn't choose, and they're doing what they think is the best for their child. Not like most of the time, It doesn't mean that your parents were bad at all, that they ruined your life or something because of your attachment style. It's not about that at all. It's about the way you as a child perceived what went on and how it either worked in your favor or worked against you. Like, for example, someone could turn out dismissive avoidant if maybe their dad was a little bit more stern with them and told them, come on, big boys don't cry. Suck it up, like get back out there. Like, we don't have time for tears. Or like, there's no tears in baseball, whatever they say. That's exactly how that generation was raised. That's exactly how men are socially brought up, and that's a lot of men in society. So, that father was doing the absolute best that he knew how to do. He was doing exactly what he was probably taught by his father, and he was not trying to hurt his child. So it's not the parent's fault. It's just simply what is. You have these experiences as a child. They teach you how to behave in relationships as an adult. You repeat it and you recreate it, and it either works out for you or you continuously come to an outcome that you don't want. And you can either decide, hey, I'm getting an outcome I don't want, and this is where it came from, and you can understand where it comes from so that you can deprogram it, or you can choose to ignore it and stay in your bubble of, I don't know what's going on. And that's just the way it is, period. Remove shame and blame. It's not the parent's fault. It's not your fault. It just is what is, okay? So just keep that in mind. Number 3. Last insecure attachment style is the fearful avoidant. And fearful avoidant, the special little beast. I'm a fearful avoidant, so it's okay, I can say that. Anyways, fearful avoidant is really kind of interesting because it's also known as disorganized attachment, and it can be anywhere on the spectrum in the polar sides of the anxious or the dismissive avoidance. Fearful avoidance would be most like whoever the heck Katy Perry was singing about in her song That's Hot and Then Cold, because that's what happens. Swing back and forth. Hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold. It's very confusing. That's why it's called disorganized as well. And it can be very terrifying when you never know which way you're going to be going. Is it safe to get close? Or should we push away? You never know. So that's why it's a little bit like fearful. Come to the cemetery. I'm scared. Mom, I'm scared. I want to go home now. They're not like scared little puppies or anything, but it's just called fearful avoidant because it's like you're afraid of intimacy and you avoid it, but you also like really want it.
And really long for connection.
Fearful avoidant childhood would have elements of both dynamics that were described for anxious preoccupied and for dismissive avoidant, but usually really solidified by maybe a very deeply traumatic event or an extreme emotional turmoil over a long extended period of time of their childhood. Like maybe they were in foster care, maybe they were experiencing abuse without the T. Not always, so don't just think because someone has fearful avoidant attachment that they were abused without the T. That's not the case. But they could be. Many times they would grow up in a house where they really had to walk on eggshells to be able to survive. They often were invalidated. They were extremely unsure from one moment to the next whether their environment and their caregivers were going to be a place of safety. And when they were a place of safety, sometimes they were such a great place of safety. And when they weren't, they were sometimes such a place of fear and struggle that it was very, very traumatic. So there's just wide polar opposites going on there. The dismissive avoidant, it's like they pretty much grew to understand that they were not going to get emotional validation. It was not safe to be emotional. Like they didn't have to guess. That's just what it was.
And then for the anxious preoccupied,
they were more like, I know that emotions are very good and very validating. I love love. It's amazing. I love it when I feel it. But then like sometimes it goes away and I hate that. So there was that. They knew they wanted it though. And then the fearful is just all over the board. I do sort of know what it looks like, and I really do love it, but losing it and having the opposite is just detrimental as all get out, and I don't know if it's even worth it. So those are the 3 insecure attachment styles and what they would look like from childhood. Then the 4th is secure. This is somebody who is already at the level of secure. This is 50% of the population. It would mean that in your childhood, your emotional needs and your physical needs were properly responded to the level that you needed as a child. The way you perceived things was that when I need something, I am validated by my caregiver, so I can trust in relationships that that's what will happen. Was it perfect? No, but I was given the tools that I needed to handle the hard times and work through them in a way that allows them to properly attach to people in their adult relationships.
just imagine for a moment if each of our previous examples of insecure attachment styles healed their attachment style and became securely attached. Remember anxious preoccupied? Now here's our example transformed into a secure attachment.
Viola. Don't have relationships free of conflict. They don't have relationships or lives free of trauma, but they certainly have relationships that tend to last longer and be more fulfilling and be more safe and secure and the outcome that they're looking for. Remember our more heartbroken anxious preoccupied?
Yeah.
Now here's our example transformed into a secure attachment.
Shazam! Shazam!
Secure is where all people should strive to get to be the most fulfilled and the most happy relationships. Not better than any attachment style, once again, because you don't get to choose. They're literally luck of the draw. They're like, boom, 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 you're going to this family, you're going to this family, you're going to this family, we don't know. You're going to this family, we don't know what we're going to get. So we work with what we're given, okay? We work it. So our securely attached individual is going to have no relationship problems? No.
Remember our dismissive avoidant?
Yeah.
Now here's our example transformed into a secure attachment.
Bossing.
Because guess what? They're sometimes going to be with insecure attached people. Are securely attached individuals who end up with other securely attached individuals going to have a perfect Disney relationship? No.
And lastly, our example of the dismissive avoidant who was on the verge of losing his family, now transformed to a secure attachment.
Wow, what a flex.
Because the most perfect relationship still has conflict, still hurt each other, still have struggles, still make mistakes, still have breakups, still aren't compatible sometimes. But you do have a better chance when you do find the right person to create longevity if you are both securely attached and have healed these wounds.
An advantageous
way to look at your life and your experiences is to remove the words fault and blame from your vocabulary and from what you discuss when you talk about what happened to you in your life. So is it your fault that you have a certain type of attachment style? No. Do you deserve blame for having a certain type of attachment style?
Probably no.
No. Is it your responsibility if it is causing problems in your relationship, if it is causing strife to your life, if it is causing you to repeatedly get an outcome that is not your desired outcome? Pick me, pick me, pick me! Whose responsibility is your life and how it turns out once you're an adult? Ooh. You don't need to avoid accountability for it, because what is needed is responsibility, accountability, authenticity, and self-reflection to figure out what you can do differently now that you do have the control. Now that you do know what's going into your subconscious mind. Now that you do have the ability to choose who you're in relationship with. You can change it. Get rid of all that shame, get rid of all that blame, get rid of all that guilt. It's fine. First of all, just wipe that off and stop using those words in your descriptions of things. Stop saying whose fault is it and who's to blame for something. Because the answer is, in this context, the answer is nobody. Now, I'm going to put it out there because I feel like it's really important for my viewers who have gone through this, that there's going to be some of you that, like myself, have experienced severe, intense trauma where they were a victim of something, where there was abuse without the T, you know what I'm saying? That's definitely not your fault, and I would say in that situation that is someone's fault. There's an individual or individuals to blame for that, and rightfully so that you would feel that way. So I validate that and acknowledge that. My heart goes out to you. And even in that situation, even so, this is for you. This healing process is for you. Try your best to focus in on what you can do for you. So there should be no blaming of yourself, and there should be no faulting yourself for anything. That's all for today. I hope that makes sense for a quick overview of what the attachment styles are, the 4 attachment styles, and I will see you next time. Bye! Hey y'all, welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Hi. Hello. It's like, do beauty queens even still wave like this? Like this was like a thing, like.
Kids.
Let's get into it. I feel like that part is like just getting really dramatic. Like, let's get into it. I'm sorry. Do all that anymore. I don't know. But let's get into it.